All right, guys, this video number 4 is the last one I'm going to do on the power review. Picking up where we last left off on number 3, this is an absolute value with less than. I'm going to do an absolute value with greater than 2x plus 4 absolute, 2x plus 4 greater than 6. A little bit different procedure here on this one. What you want to do is let this part right here float over to the right. 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 6. Throw the word or in there. And this part right here, you're going to write that 2x plus 4 again, but you're going to flip the sign, and you're going to change the sign here to a negative 6. So now you got your two sides that you can work out. And this is an OR condition. So just go ahead and solve this thing out right quick. Subtract 4, subtract 4. 2x is greater than equal to 2. So x is greater than equal to 1. On this side, subtract 4, subtract 4. 2x is less than equal to negative 10. So x is less than or equal to negative 5. And those are your two answers, going from closed on negative 5 going left, and closed on 1 going right. So one of those may pop back up again on test. Next thing I want to talk about is dealing a little bit more with graphing. So let's get right into it. You got to know what's going on with vertex form. Okay, vertex form. Here's a typical vertex form problem. 3, make up something here, x plus 9 squared, subtract 5. Remember, in vertex form, it was, what was general vertex form? X subtract h squared plus k. All right, so in this, remember, in the general form, the horizontal movement is going to be opposite of what you think. So this vertex on this thing is actually at negative 9, negative 5 is our vertex, okay? The vertical movement is what it is, but the horizontal is going to be opposite. So negative 9, negative 5. We know that this is a parabola in shape. So, you know, if you had to look for the graph of this thing, you're going to be looking for something over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like this, more or less, okay? And it's turned upward, okay, because it is a positive quadratic. Had this been negative 3, it would be turned down, but since it's positive, it's turned up. Let's talk about this a value and how it affects the equation. This a value is your stretch or compression. So the larger the a value is going to be a stretch. And if it's smaller, like a fraction, 1/2, 1/9, 1/7, something like that, that's going to be a compression. Okay, so let me give you a few notes on that, on stretch and compression. For instance, if we have something like this, if it was just x squared, you know, that's the, you know, let me draw a little grid here. If it would be just the basic parabola going through, you know, something like that. That's x squared. Let's say if it was something like this, 1/4 x squared, then, you know, that's going to be a compression. So 1/4 is going to be a little wider, okay, a little wider than the x squared, because that right there is actually a compression. And you want to compare that to something, let's say like 3x squared. You know, 3x squared is going to be a little bit more narrow. Okay, so you got your base, and I didn't do such a good job on the base, but just imagine a basic y equal to x squared versus a y equal to 1/4 x squared versus a y equal to 3x. This one's going to be, you know, taller and more narrow than the regular x squared. Okay, so that's your a value and its impact on the parabola. What else do we got going here? Let's talk about shifting. vertical shift. So I'm going to use the same little setup here. If it's an x squared, it's going to be just a regular old, just basic parabola, um, parabolic quadratic like that. But suppose it was x squared subtract 6 like that. Okay. Now this right here is a vertical shift. This is your vertical movement. Remember, the horizontal movement is captured within the parentheses. So this would be down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. And it's still got the same look to it, just shifted down. Okay, and of course a plus, if it were x squared plus 6, then like that, then that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Went off the page here, can't see, didn't even notice it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up here, like so. Okay, it's going to be shifted up. Now that's a vertical shift, and if someone wanted to do a horizontal shift, it would look like this. And of course, these are y equal to, by the way, guys. Okay, all these are y equal to. If it was y equal to, let's say, x subtract 6 like this, squared, that's a horizontal movement. And remember, your horizontal is opposite of what you think. So this thing's actually moving to the right 6 spaces. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. See, that's a horizontal movement. And if it were plus 6, it's actually going to move left. All right, so let's see what else we're talking about. And also just remember on these things, if it's a positive x squared, it's going to be turned upward. And if it's a negative x squared, it's going to be turned down. All right. What else might you encounter? Let's talk about a little bit of, since we're still dealing with graphs, let's talk a little bit about relative minimum and maximum. Okay, relative min and max. Okay, for instance, if you have, they're going to give you some function, and they're going to ask you for the relative minimum or maximum. Generally, in our exercises, it's probably going to be a cubic, maybe a positive cubic or negative cubic, something like that. Let's assume it's a positive cubic, okay? So it's going to go something like this. They're going to give you a graph, okay? And we're talking about relative maximum. We're talking about that high point right there, okay? That's our relative maximum. And on this cubic here, that's going to be our minimum, okay? So, and then they're going to give you some function up here. I don't know, let's make up something. Y equal to x cubed, I don't know, plus 4x squared plus 7x subtract 10, something like that. And then they're going to give you some choices down here, and they're going to ask you what is the relative maximum or minimum. And what you want to do, you want to look at the choices and see what's going to be that x value that's going to give you the highest y value, okay, out of the choices. And then that's your maximum. Whatever x value gives you that highest y value right there, that's going to be your maximum. And same thing for the minimum. Plug in the x values, and whichever one gives you the lowest y value, that's going to be your minimum. Okay, so that's how they're going to handle minimum and maximum on our test. In maybe an Algebra 2 trig class or a pre-cal, we probably just graph this with our calculator and get a nice curve and figure it out that way. But for our test, it's going to be in the multiple choice format. So you want to plug in your x values and see which one's going to give you the highest x value, and plug in and see which one of these is going to give you the lowest y value on the minimum. Last thing I want to talk about is synthetic division. So let me pause and put a problem. All right, guys, taking a look here at this division problem, the directions will be use synthetic division to divide. And on this particular problem, what we're going to do is divide synthetically. Remember, whatever number's down here in the denominator, you're going to use the opposite sign. So here's -3 right here. Box that off like that. That's how we did it in class. Some other people box everything else off. And look up here, guys. You have x to the 4th, then it jumps to the x squared, then x, then 4. Got to give a shout out to Justin Browning for keeping me on my toes this morning. You got to remember that you got to fill in these gaps with zero x's if needed. So the coefficient of the x to the 4th term is 1. Then there's a 0 for the cubic term. Then we get to 3, then 1, and then 4. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and go through our synthetic division. You know, again, you're going to, this is divisor down here, you got to use the opposite, and then you got to use the coefficients up here. 1, then there's a 0 cubic, then you got 3, you got 1, and you got 4. So you're going to drop that 1 down, multiply, you get -3. Add, remember you got to add vertically, so you're going to get a -3 here. Multiply, you get 9. Add, you get 12. Multiply, you get, what do you get? -36. Add, you get -35. Multiply, and you get 105. And then from there, add, and you get 109. So what you want to do on these problems that say, if they say divide, use long division, they're not going to be testing you on method, guys. So you want to use what's most expedient. I like this synthetic division. So remember, your first term is going to be 1 less than your degree of your starting term. So this is going to be x cubed, subtract 3x squared, plus 12x, subtract 35, with a remainder of 109. And that is the final answer right there. Again, shout out to Justin Browning for, keeping me on track this morning. One of those days, I guess. But he does it all the time, so shout out there. All right, guys. So in conclusion, what I would say is, take your time on the test. You got a whole 2 hours to do, 45 problems or so. Read the problems over, read them once or twice. Make sure you're picking the best answer that you can. Don't just fly through it. Actually try your best. What else? Use good common sense, okay? If your integers, let's say you get a multiple choice factoring problem and all of the choices are integers, and they say solve by the quadratic formula. Well, hey, you may just want to try to factor it, or you might just want to try to plug in the numbers and see which one makes the left side equal to the right side, or which pair of x values makes the left side equal to the right side. You're not being tested on method. You're getting tested on whether or not you pass the test. Of course, I want you to learn the correct method long term, but hey, the test is tomorrow for some of you guys. So again, make good decisions, work from the answer backward if you have to, and we'll try it again next semester in terms of brushing up on this and getting the proper method down to walk in the front door. But on test day, just look over these videos again, read through them again, work through some problems again, and hopefully you'll have a lot of success. One last problem, talking about graphing, I just noticed something. Suppose you end up with something like this. I only have less than a minute. Y equal to, I don't know, let's just say something like this, 4 subtract x squared. You got to be on top of your game here, guys, and just notice that this is a downward, this parabola turns down because that's a negative. So really this thing could be y equal to -x squared plus 4. So be mindful of little things like that. Use good judgment. Look over your notes again. Look over the other study guide. Go through that. Look at the chapter reviews. And best of luck to each one of you. Have a good night.